According to Karl Marx, the socialist revolution was right around the corner, as the lives of the workers would clearly get worse and worse and worse, until, with nothing left to lose, nothing left to live for, utterly miserable, revolution would explode the old bourgeois world. And yet, it didn't. Why is that? Why was that? What, if anything, did the rise of mass entertainment have to do with it? These and other questions will be answered right after this. I'm Professor Jerome Markenberg, and I've been teaching a wide variety of history courses at colleges across this country for the past 30 years. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the rise of mass entertainment in the 19th century, including the appearance of pubs, saloons, music halls, operetta, musical comedy, burlesque, vaudeville, and cabaret. The rise to mass popularity of opera, symphony, theater, ballet, museums, zoos, and the circus, and the emergence of public parks, beaches, and amusement parks. At the end, I'll have the wrap-up quote on this video. But first, make sure to click like, share, and especially subscribe, and that little bell thingy, so I can continue to bring you more great videos just like this one. By the mid-19th century, Victorian concerns over both the moral and physical degeneration of the workers, along with the rise of labor unions, resulted in the 8-hour day and an extra half day off on Saturday, besides Sundays, which were to be used for church services, though the 40-hour week was not yet the norm. Britain led the way to greater leisure with the Bank Holidays Act of 1871, which instituted a series of paid national holidays for first bank clerks and then factory workers. And these would be Good Friday, Boxing Day, Christmas, Easter Monday, and the first Mondays in May and August. However, there were concerns over how the working classes spent this extra time off. For in the early 19th century, the spread of gin palaces, widely considered cesspits of crime and moral degeneracy, led to the Beer Act of 1830 and the appearance of the public house. By 1838, there were 46,000 pubs all across Britain. The proliferation of pubs caused some owners to offer entertainment to lure customers in, and this developed into a saloon, a bit different than a Western American saloon, to a saloon which offered singing, dancing, drama, and comedy. Out of the saloon developed the music hall, where one could drink and smoke at a table without taking off one's coat and hat, unlike theaters, as standalone establishments in the 1850s. By 1878, there were 378 music halls in London alone, seating anywhere from 50 to 5,000 people, including the Alhambra, the Tivoli, the Palace, and the London Palladium, all with dancers in various stages of nudity, and singers, jugglers, clowns, and entertainers of all sorts. As music halls spread, a more refined version appeared as a kind of comic opera, the Operetta, as pioneered by Jacques Offenbach, whom you see here, who wrote The Tales of Hoffmann, Johann Strauss, who wrote Die Fledermaus, and the team of W.S. Gilbert and Arthur Sullivan, or Gilbert and Sullivan, who wrote The Mikado, The Pirates of Penzance, and so forth. In America, this turned into musical comedy, pioneered by Victor Herbert, Sigmund Romberg, and Rudy Frimmel, who paved the way for George M. Cohan, Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Lerner and Loewe, and the Gershwins. The music hall combined with Victorian burlesque. Victorian burlesque is the one that satirically mocked current operas, plays, or ballets, somewhat like in American television Saturday Night Live. Anyway, music hall combined with Victorian burlesque brought about leg shows, such as Lydia Thompson's 1868 British Blondes, which took the northern part of the country by storm, and minstrel shows, all of which emerged in the United States as American burlesque, featuring sexually suggestive low comedy, minimally costumed dancers, novelty acts like fire eaters, and of course, striptease. In the 1880s, vaudeville emerged in America and Canada as a family-friendly alternative to burlesque, American burlesque. All these had unrelated acts on a common bill. Musicians, dancers, comedians, magicians, trained animals, acrobats, singers, jugglers, one-act plays, dramatic readings, lecturing celebrities and athletes, and minstrels, all for a family audience in alcohol-free theaters on circuits such as the Orpheum and Pantages, with New York's Palace Theater, as shown here, the height of stardom, until cinema, destroyed vaudeville during the Great Depression. On the European continent, American burlesque appeared as cabaret, for example, appearing in theaters such as the Black Cat, the Moulin Rouge, and the Folies Bergère in Paris. Here also, opera and symphony thrived in France, Germany, and Italy, more as popular spectacle than high art. Though there were some high art composers, such as you see here, Strauss, Puccini, Rossini, Verdi, Donizetti, and Wagner. Straight theater, drama, and comedy were also popular among all classes, as was ballet in France, Italy, and Germany. Cinema first appeared at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, when Thomas Edison showed off his kinetoscope, a cabinet with a 55-foot continuous film loop, powered by an electric motor, backlit by an incandescent lamp, but viewable by only one person at a time via a peephole, of which you can see them here. But it was not until Charles Jenkins invented the phantascope in 1894, and here is the Charles Jenkins phantascope, that made film projection for mass audiences possible, with the first public exhibition held in 1895 by Antoine Lumière in Paris. In 1905, New York's Nickelodeon Theater was the first movie house, with films such as Georges Méliès' Trip to the Moon of 1902 and Porter's The Great Train Robbery by 1903. The picture you see here, the cowboy shooting you at the screen, this was so realistic to those who watched it, especially in Western America and the Old West. There are numerous reports of when this happened, the guy shooting. Guys would get up, point their guns, and shoot back. Americans just weren't used to it. By 1910, there were over 10,000 movie houses across America, and at least that many in Europe. Before World War I, movies were filmed in either New York or Chicago. But then director D.W. Griffith, shown here, made a trip to Los Angeles in 1910 to film in Old California. And then, as a result, movie studios, attracted by the mild climate, varied geography, and sunlight, which enabled films to be shot outdoors year-round, all moved out there. You see here, by the way, this is MGM Studios in 1920. Today, this is the Culver City subdivision. The Max Sennett Studios, and then Nestor Films. Wholesome fare also included going to the Art Museum. The British Museum first opened to the public in 1759, but by ticket only for the upper classes. But the French Revolution led to the opening of the Louvre to public in 1793, and by the mid-19th century, other museums across Europe followed, at first being open only on Sundays. Public zoos emerged from royal menagerie, with the first open to the public in Vienna in 1765, upper classes only, not surprisingly. But the French Revolution opened them to the general public, starting with the Paris Zoo in 1795, followed eventually by London in 1847 and New York's Central Park Zoo in 1860, along with a host of others by the end of the 19th century. The French Revolution also saw the conversion of royal parks to public parks. By the mid-19th century, cities were opening parks as rural islands amidst urban sprawl. Picnics in the park became popular among the working classes from the creation of public parks, which not only served to get the workers out of doors, but also became occasions to build workers' solidarity or to skirt restrictions on public protests. The early 20th century saw the creation of neighborhood playgrounds, swimming pools, picnic grounds, ball fields, and civic gardens, envisioned in part as ways to keep the working classes fit, and in part as ways to keep them out of the saloons and taverns, and instead in wholesome entertainments. As railways provided, for the first time, affordable and reliable transport to seashore or lakeshore from the 1870s, both lower class and middle class joined the upper classes there, to the latter's great annoyance and consternation. Yes, this is Chicago's. This, of course, is down by Brighton in London, and this is New York's Coney Island. Yes, it was packed that closely together. There at the seashore, the lakeshore, they might frequent an amusement park, which grew out of Europe's upper-class pleasure gardens of the 17th century. But it was only the midway of the 1893 Chicago's World Fair, which had carnival games, food booths, penny arcades, shows and rides, such as the Ferris wheel, which became the model for all later amusement parks. And yes, this is the first Ferris wheel. And you can get a size of it. Here, this is the car. Look at the size of the cars on which you would ride. Here is a roller coaster, and I can't remember this one is. This is at, I believe, White City in Chicago, and also in White City, which had nothing to do with 1893 World's Fair, by the way. This is the Shoot the Chutes, still very popular. In 1910, over 2,000 amusement parks existed in America alone, with Coney Island the most famous. By 1910, over 1 million came out every Sunday to the various Coney Island amusement parks to enjoy the fun. All this, of course, was made possible by the newfangled gas street lighting, which first appeared in London in 1818 and then the first electric arc streetlights in Paris in 1878, the first electric incandescent lights in Cleveland in 1879. By 1890, streetlights were common in Europe and America, and here you see two pictures of the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, where the main administration building is entirely lit up. Another amusement was the circus, starting as equestrian and acrobatic exhibitions for royalty in the 17th century, but popularized only by Philip Astley's London Circus of 1768, when he introduced trick horse riding into a ring. By the mid-19th century, European circuses were held in purpose-built amphitheaters, such as the London Hippodrome, shown here. But in America, this circus tent was used, mostly so you can set up and travel from one small town to another. P.T. Barnum revolutionized the circus as a traveling animal menagerie at a time when very few Americans had ever seen exotic animals like lions and tigers and giraffes, and in which very few zoos existed. It was also a sideshow and a carnival, along with the usual equestrian acrobatic acts. And then in 1881, his circus merged with James Bailey's to form Barnum and Bailey, whose European tour of 1897 to 1902 heavily influenced European circuses. After Bailey's 1906 death, his circus was bought by the Ringling Brothers of Baraboo, Wisconsin. And here you see them here. John, Otto, Charles, L, and Elf. And together this formed Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's greatest show on earth. The wrap-up quote. Music halls appeal to a far larger class of pleasure seekers than theaters. Prices are not so high, and their entertainment provided does not, as a rule, demand an undivided attention. You can smoke and drink at your ease while the entertainment is going on, for a ledge fixed at the back of the seat of the man in front of you serves as a table on which to place your glass. And you may arrive late or go away early and be blessed by the management for doing so. Hence the halls are especially favored by young men. But in the East End of London, many will take their wives and children or sweethearts with them to pass a happy evening. Performances usually last from 7:45 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Charles Booth, 1894. So, let me know what you think of this quote in the comment section below. Also, what you liked about this video and what other historical topics or subjects you'd like to see in future videos. Be sure to click like, share, especially subscribe, as it will help me bring you more great videos just like this one, and click on that little bell thingy so you'll know when the next History Waits for No One video is posted. If you want to know more, there are recommended studies on this topic in the description below, along with other ways to connect with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the past.